Here's what's coming up on Chicago Bears Now. It's the Bears versus blank for Ben Johnson. We will get into that. Caleb Williams commented on the Lions offensive coordinator on Monday. See what Caleb had to say. Some more coaching search updates, some new names added to the interview request list. We will react to those. DeMarcus Walker, who played under Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, sounded off on his former head coach. Here's comments there. And then Tevin Jenkins. Is he leaving in free agency? Loaded show here on Chicago Bears Now, which is why you subscribe to the channel. And by the way, I got some bad news for Packers fans because we are launching a Packers channel at Chat Sports, but we already got a 112,000 subscriber lead. Let's continue to expand that lead. If you want to dominate, to decimate, to embarrass those frauds in Green Bay, Wisconsin, hit that subscribe button here on Bears Now. Let's show them who's boss. Just beat them in the season finale. Let's beat them inside the Chat Sports walls. No Packers channel is going to top us here at Bears Now. Let's go. Hit that subscribe button. Okay, Ben Johnson sweepstakes. Tom Pelissero says that Johnson will interview with the Bears and Pats this week. Not just that he's been requested. He says that he will take interviews with both of those, which, again, is significant because it's been reported for months now that Ben Johnson is only going to interview with teams he could envision himself being a head coach for. So, at the bare minimum, he is interested in the Bears and also the Patriots. So, do a little exercise. Who has the edge between these two franchises from an incoming head coaching candidate? Ownership. You'd have to go the Patriots. The Crafts are kind of funky, but compared to the McCaskies, not even close. They obviously found a partnership in Bill Belichick that worked for 2 decades and won 6 Super Bowls. Front office, I'll go push because Elliott Wolf doesn't even have a GM title. It kind of feels like the Crafts are running things. That situation is weird. Obviously, Ryan Poles has done some good things, but it hasn't been great as things have aged. So I'll go push in that regard. I don't think you could say either side has a superior outlook at this point in time. Quarterback, I think it's also push. 2 really young, talented guys that showed some good signs this year, Drake May and Caleb Williams. Both need more improvement in developing. I don't think you could say at this point which guy is for sure going to have a brighter future. Current roster, Bears. And that's with me acknowledging that the roster probably isn't quite as good as we thought, but the Patriots roster is bad, man. Like, it's really, really bad. There's talent here in Chicago. Now, the trenches were not up to par, so that's got to be improved. There's certain areas where you're going to have to add some pieces, no question about it. But I think this is a big advantage for Chicago in this pursuit of Ben Johnson. Like, hey, we believe in your vision. Get more out of the talent we currently have than the last guys have. And we, along with some new additions, can be a more competitive team next year. Speaking of which, offseason capital, that is advantage Patriots, but the Bears still have a lot. They have over $80 million in cap space. They have 3 picks in the top 41, 4 in the top 71 or 72 as well. Patriots have $130 million in cap space, though, so they do have more money, but they also have a longer way to go. So I would combine the Bears' current roster and offseason capital to be better than the Patriots, but if you split them into 2 categories, the Patriots would win this regard. Easier division, you'd have to say the Patriots. Now, Josh Allen and the Bills are going to be there for at least another 10 years, so it's going to be hard to win that division. You could argue that combination has the most staying power of any teams in either division, NFC North or AFC East, but all 4 NFC North teams, or the other 3, I should say, are very well run and very talented. In the AFC East, Miami's stuck in the middle, and the New York Jets are a mess. So there's probably a quicker path to competing for a division title there. However, the easier conference, I think, advantage Bears. Because think of the AFC. Quarterback head coach combos. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid with the Chiefs. Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers. You've got Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh. You've got Josh Allen with the Bills, which we already mentioned with the division. They're not in the playoffs this year, but Joe Burrow, as long as he's healthy, is a force to be reckoned with. I think the high-end teams and quarterbacks in the AFC are more high-end than the NFC. So, look, you add it all up, I could see both ways. I will say this, Ben Johnson seems to want clarity with power structure and ownership. I think the Patriots' ownership is better, but what is their GM structure? What is Elliott Wolf exactly? Like, he doesn't even have a GM title. So I think one thing this could really come down to is, where does Mike Vrabel fit in the mix here? Their level of interest in Vrabel seems pretty high. So if the Patriots go full steam ahead and he wants to go there, if you're in the Ben Johnson camp for the Bears, that's what you should be rooting for. But if the Patriots pivot to Johnson, I think it's a coin flip. I think it really could go either way. There's pros and cons to both organizations, where they play, the divisions, the rosters, all that stuff. I think it's 50-50. So if you're in the Ben Johnson camp, I think you need to be rooting for Mike Vrabel to get that job in New England. Now, Caleb Williams was asked directly about Ben Johnson today, and he just, had a couple comments. He said, I think he's been really cool to watch during our game, talking about when they played the Lions the 2 times. I would sit back and watch and try to learn something. It was fascinating to watch because he always, like I said, had wrinkles for counters and things like that throughout the game. I think he's obviously done really well. It'd be cool to see how that all goes down. Even watching last night, talking about Lions-Vikings Sunday Night Football, knowing what kind of what they're going to be in a certain situation and being able to go out there and execute like the pass they threw to Jahmyr Gibbs on Van Ginkel. He's referring to a critical 4th and 2 play where he got a matchup with Jahmyr Gibbs on Van Ginkel and exploited that on a critical 4th and 2 to take a 17-9 lead when it was 10-9, and then they kind of ran away from there. First of all, my main reaction is I like Caleb doing his homework. Like, he's taking this seriously. He's not and can't make demands, obviously, but like, I like that he's doing this. I hope the Bears at least get his input on things. Like, I don't think Caleb should be choosing who the coach is, but I like that he's paying attention. He's well aware of who these guys are, and he's not an idiot. He's seen Detroit. They've won 15 games. The Bears played him twice. Like, there are a lot of new wrinkles. He's very good at marrying the run and pass game. He's very good at using similar formations and thinking that convincing the defense they're going to do one thing and then coming up with a new wrinkle off of it. Like, that's what good playmakers do. They come back to similar stuff, but then they hit you with a new wrinkle. So I like that. I like the pairing potential between Caleb and Ben Johnson because both are very talented and good at what they do. We just have to see, like Caleb said, how that all plays out. All right, so more on the coaching search outside of Ben Johnson. Adam Schefter reported this about an hour before we went live here on Thursday, that the Bears have sought permission to interview Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy, are awaiting a response from Dallas. If the Cowboys don't allow permission this week because McCarthy's contract is up on January 14th, the Bears could interview him after that. So I think the McCarthy thing is pretty interesting. First, from a Dallas standpoint, I think Jerry Jones, sure, he could play hardball and wait till January 14th, but is he going to wait till then and then let McCarthy go? I think those two parties with each other need to make a decision the next few days. Like, okay, Jerry, are you going to bring me back or not? Like, it shouldn't take Jerry 8 days to decide that. Like, if I'm Mike, I'm giving him till the 10th, and if you don't have a decision by then, I on the 14th, I'm out of my contract. That's how I would approach it if I was McCarthy. Now, the risk there is you may not end up with a job at all, but that's more than enough time for Dallas to make their decision. And I've said this about McCarthy. He's a floor raiser. Is he my top guy? No. Is he probably even my second guy? No, I'd go Vrabel over him. Is he in the discussion after that? I think so. This guy has won 8 division titles, 6 in the NFC North, 2 in the NFC East. He's won a Super Bowl. He's won 61% of his regular season games. He's won 11 playoff games. Mike McCarthy is a qualified NFL head coach. This is not a John Fox situation who had a decent career, but obviously was a disaster in Chicago. He's an offensive guy that has done a good job over the years. Now, I think his best days are probably behind him, which is why he wouldn't be my top guy. But the point is you can do a lot worse than Mike McCarthy. If that's the worst-case scenario, you end up with Mike McCarthy, that's not the worst thing ever. Would I be somewhat disappointed? Yeah, I'd rather get Ben Johnson. But at the end of the day, Mike McCarthy's a pretty good football coach. Now, as far as where the interview tracker sits right now, the Bears have requested to do interviews with all of these candidates. We talked about several of these earlier, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. Dolphins DC Anthony Weaver, Drew Petzing with the Cardinals, Mike Vrabel, the former Titans head coach, obviously. We'll see if and when that interview goes down. If the Patriots go full steam ahead, maybe it doesn't. Thomas Brown is going to get an official interview as well. Some of these are new names that have been reported in the last couple of hours. Mike Kafka, the OC with the Giants, I think he's lost some steam as a candidate, but they're going to bring him in. Brian Flores, the Vikings DC, he's pretty high on my list, not as high as some others, but he's up there. Arthur Smith, gross. Mike McCarthy, we're waiting to see if that gets permission. And then Todd Monken was added as well, the Ravens OC. He's a little older. Obviously, Mike is too, but Monken's never been an NFL head coach. He calls plays from the booth. I just kind of wonder, is he just a coordinator? But he's done a hell of a job with that Ravens offense, and he's turned Lamar into a much better passer than people ever thought. And I think we overuse that phrase, he's turned Lamar. Lamar deserves credit as well, obviously. But he's had his most productive passing season of his career under Todd Monken, and I think that's pretty noteworthy. All right, fill in the blank. The Bears 2025 head coach will be blank. Let us know who you think that person is going to be. Now, coming up, DeMarcus Walker. He sounds off, gives his thoughts on Mike Vrabel, played for him in Tennessee for a few years before signing with the Bears. But before we talk about that, we got to talk about our sponsor. That, of course, is Game Time. Get your tickets right now with Game Time. The NFL playoffs are here. The college football playoffs semifinal games are here, and there's nothing like being at an event of that caliber. I went to the college football national championship game a couple of years ago. It was awesome. There's nothing like being at a high-stakes game, and getting our tickets with Game Time made the process easy. Got our tickets the day of the event. No sweat whatsoever. If you want to go to a Bulls game, one of these playoff games, even though the Bears aren't in it, college football playoff game, maybe you're an Ohio State or a Penn State fan, you can still get your tickets, Notre Dame fans as well. Sign up, create an account today, use code ChatSports to get $20 off your first purchase only. Terms do apply. The feature Game Time picks makes getting your tickets much easier. It'll filter out the fluff of thousands of tickets and kind of narrow down your search. You can see views from the seats, curated deals, super deals, which are the best bang for your buck on certain seats throughout the stadium. Take advantage today. It's Game Time. Code ChatSports, $20 off. First purchase only. Terms do apply. Okay, let's talk Mike Vrabel through DeMarcus Walker, former Titan. He was asked straight up today, what are your thoughts on Mike Vrabel as a coach, as a candidate, all of that stuff. And he was just very blunt, which is what I think you would get out of Mike Vrabel. He said, quote, a lot of bullshit is going to be cut out. I'm sorry, but that's true. Discipline will be laid right down from the first day. A lot of those small things that we were doing and got away with, that's concerning, but I think we kind of knew that. That won't happen, just from my personal experience. And look, if you're looking for the best available leader of men, mantra candidate, that is Mike Vrabel. And I'm not trying to mock that. I think culture is critical. I think you have to have a guy who doesn't let things slide. But that should be every coach you hire. That's been my argument for that all along. It's like, okay, yeah, if you don't think Ben Johnson can set a standard, then you don't hire him. But if you do, he checks so many other boxes. To me, he's the top candidate. With Vrabel, I know he's going to set that standard, but who are his coordinators, right? Who's he bringing in to run the offense? Who's running the defense? I've said it. I think the best path to long-term success is pairing an offensive head coach who calls the plays with your quarterback, because if that hits, you're set for a long time, because that guy can't go anywhere else. No one can poach him for you. If you get Mike Vrabel and an awesome OC, that's great, but that OC is going to get hired. And I'm not saying you don't hire him because of that. That's something to worry about down the road. I'm just saying the best avenue to long-term success is bringing a guy in like Ben Johnson and it working out. So pick a coach. Who would you rather have? Type MV for Mike Vrabel or BJ for Ben Johnson. I would go Ben Johnson. I get the appeal to Vrabel. He's my number 2 guy. Definitely not against it, but I would type BJ for Ben Johnson. All right, one potential free agent note before we get out of here is Tevin Jenkins gone. He told reporters today that he's, quote, mentally preparing to hit free agency. He said that he's kind of 50-50 on whether he envisions himself even being here, even wanting to be here. And, you know, the old phrase, like, if you're halfway out the door, you're probably just gone. Feels like that's the case here. If I were the Bears, I would let him test the market, see what's out there, and if he doesn't get a big money contract early, maybe in that second, third wave of free agency, You try to work something out on a 1-year incentive type of contract, but I don't think you force it here if you're the Bears. Injuries have been an issue. They were once again this year. So I think a split is probably best for both parties. I don't expect him back. And teams are always looking for good offensive linemen. And Tevin Jenkins is. It only takes one team to take a chance and say, you know what? We really like our medical staff. We'll bring him in on a 2-year, $25 million contract or something like that. So I don't think he's back. I wish him well. Tevin's a likable guy. He's a really, really good player. I won't say great, but really good when he's healthy. Just unfortunate. 4 seasons and 4 seasons of at least having some number of injuries, which is certainly unfortunate. All right, that's going to do it for the latest news roundup when it comes to the Chicago Bears here on Bears Now. New info's coming out every hour, every day. We got you covered. I did a video Sunday night at midnight, and you guys tuned in for that. So appreciate your love and support. We will continue to pump up the content.